Good morning and welcome to the Camnet Breakfast Show, Thursday edition, governance and policy, as well as politics. I'm your usual host, Patrick Soko, with my co-host, Sharon Kalimbula. Together, we will be with you up to the hour of 9. We'll be discussing current affairs. As you already know, quite a number of issues have been happening in the country. Looking at the issues pertaining to the Director of Public Prosecution was being suspended by President Hakainde Hichilema, and also the aspect of President Hichilema responding to issues pertaining to the court's decision to hold the by-elections in Kabushi and Kwacha constituencies respectively, and other issues pertaining to the courts. Sharon.
Of course, welcome to it. This is the Breakfast Show. Like Patrick has mentioned, my name is Sharon Kalimbola. These have sectors, by the way? Body parts.
Good morning, viewers. My name is Dr. Musole Chipoya. I'm an epidemiologist at the Zambia National Public Health Institute and a member of the Medical Women's Association of Zambia. Today we have a very important topic and something that is very timely. We'll be discussing polio. So as you may have heard, we have a polio outbreak in the neighboring country of Malawi. A case of a 3-year-old female child was diagnosed with wild-type poliovirus type 1. The case is a child who had no history of traveling outside their own country. And this is important to note because we know that this transmission occurred in the child's own country. So we know that the child did not leave Malawi and got infected in Malawi. The child was investigated in December, and the case was confirmed as a case of poliomyelitis in February of 2022. So what does this mean for the region? This means that within the region, the African region, and in particular the sub-African region, we actually do have transmission of this virus in our community. And that is why we have seen that we have had a lot of activities with polio vaccination in the past 2 months. So we had the first round of polio vaccination in March, on the 21st of March, and we just had the previous campaign, which was on the 26th of April. And it lasted for 4 days, which I hope that all mothers actually took their children who are under 5 years of age to get vaccinated. So now we get back to business of what exactly is polio. So polio is a highly infectious disease, meaning it can be transmitted from one person to another at a very fast rate. One person who has polio has the potential to infect at least 200 other people in the community. And this is very important to note because not everybody that has poliomyelitis or who has been infected with this polio virus is actually going to show signs and symptoms. So some people will have it, but they will not have any symptoms, but they'll be able to transmit that virus to other people. So there are 3 types of poliovirus, type 1, type 2, and type 3. These are called serotypes. So this is important to note because we'll find that when we take our children for vaccination, which is the only way to protect ourselves against the polio virus, we actually will be given different types of vaccines. So we have the BOPV, the bivalent oral polio vaccine, which is given orally to our children with 2 drops in the mouth. Then we also have the IPV, inactivated polio vaccine. So this is given as an injection. Why is it important that our children get all 4 doses of the BOPV and the single dose of the IPV? It is important because these protect against different types of polio viruses. So the oral one that is given is protecting us against the type 1 and type 3. And the inactivated one, which is the IPV, is protecting our children against the type 2 poliovirus. So that is why it is very important that all vaccines are given to all our children for us to say that they are fully protected against the polio virus. So now let's talk about how this virus is actually moved from one person to another. How is it that one can find themselves infected with the polio virus? So when you eat contaminated food, when you drink contaminated water, when you shake the hand of somebody who has the polio virus, maybe on their hands because after using the toilet, they did not use good hygiene practice of washing their hands with soap, then one will be able to get infected with that polio virus. So when that virus is actually in the food or in the water and we ingest it orally, meaning it goes into our mouth, it then starts to multiply, or what we would say in medicine as replicate. So it multiplies in the throat and it also multiplies in the intestines. So when that happens, then it is passed on into the fecal matter, which is the stool. And after that, you're able to continue with either transmitting to other people, causing more infections in the community. So that is what we have on what exactly polio virus is. That gives us what polio is, how it's transmitted, and how it can actually be prevented. So it is important for us to practice good hygiene. After using the toilet, wash your hands with soap to ensure that you are not a source of transmission for this virus to other people. We have children who are at high risk. These are children under 5 years of age who we need to protect. When we are preparing their food, when we are providing them with water, let's make sure that we practice this very good hygiene practice so that we prevent transmission onwards. Okay, so that has been our topic on what exactly is poliomyelitis and how we can prevent poliomyelitis. Again, my name is Dr. Musole Chipoya, epidemiologist at the Zambia National Public Health Institute. Please continue watching Camnet TV. We'll continue with this discussion tomorrow, where we'll be discussing the clinical presentation of poliomyelitis as well as the pathophysiology of how this transmission occurs. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Welcome back. That was quite an interesting discussion on polio with the doctor, and I hope you managed to get one or two things, especially pertaining to how polio is contracted and how it can be managed. A very important topic that we continue to emphasize on, and I just hope you manage to just get one or two things because it's important to be health conscious, so that we are aware of issues pertaining to our health, because it is important. That's the one way we are going to protect ourselves. They say prevention is better than cure, so it's better you know how a disease comes about, then you take preventive measures.
Indeed, Patrick. Years, months, we've seen it resurfacing, especially in Malawi. Patrick, I think there's been some records of polio in Malawi, and this is just our province, Patrick. It calls for worry when Malawi is having certain kind of situations. I mean, we're just a few meters away. Our neighbors can't be going the same thing, and we fail to do so. So let's ensure that we take our children for these vaccination. Let's find out. You know, sometimes we have a tendency, I'm not sure whether we're busy, hustling and stuff, such that we only go to the health facility when we are not okay. But we need to normalize going to the clinic for a checkup. However, at the same time, even these health workers, because they're always overwhelmed, we're in that check up. Serious. You know, because
it's supposed it's okay to do routine checkups.
Yes,
on is it blood level, sugar level?
You just go and have yourself checked. Exactly.
Those things.
Have yourself checked, but we don't usually do those things. Maybe because we are a developing country, we have very few health personnel, very few people can manage to pay for private doctors who would probably come to their homes and do all these checkups at home, the whole family members. I'm not sure if that is the case, but we need to ensure that we normalize going to the clinic to have ourselves checked at least once in a while, even twice a year, to just see how we are faring in terms of our health. And that way we will guarantee ourselves at least preventing things that may actually kill us in the long run, because you find that you have a silent thing that's not showing, but then that medical personnel may be able to detect it and
we should be having it. Agende Chilama has with immediate effect suspended Director of Public Prosecutions DPP Lillian Siyuni. The President has since appointed Katongo Ian Waluzimba as acting DPP for administrative convenience. President Hichilema has acted on the recommendations contained in the report presented to him by the Judicial Complaints Commission, JCC. Presidential spokesperson Anthony Warrior says the statement says in a statement to Camnet News last evening that the suspension of the DPP is an exercise of the powers vested in the president pursuant to Article 182.3, 144.2 and 144.3 of the Constitution of Zambia.
Later in the day, the DPP had sued the Attorney General and the courts of law, and could that be what necessitated this decision? However, the statement that was issued by Anthony Bwala says he acted upon the recommendations that were made. So obviously, even that suing came after the recommendations were already on the president's table. However, let's look at these stories, and we will be back and discuss further on that.
The Lusaka High Court has heard chilling testimony Wednesday morning when a state witness, Jennifer Peary, narrated how she was kidnapped during daylight and dropped at an unknown location, and how her alleged attackers got away with a bag of money meant to be deposited at the bank. Testifying in a case in which 2 police officers and 10 others are accused of aggravated robbery, Ms. Peary, an office assistant at Civic Bureau, says on the 12th of November 2021, she reported for work, after which a client by the name of Asim Muhammad called her to go to his office and collect some monies meant to be deposited at the bank. In her further testimony, Ms. Peary has testified that upon reaching the same Mr. Muhammad's office, she was given the said money, and she proceeded on her way to the bank, where she met some of her friends who were also going to the bank. According to the witness testimony, it was 10 in the morning, and as they walked along the exit of Cairo Road in the CBD of Lusaka, just near Puma filling station, 2 gentlemen approached her with her colleague, and it was at this point that the said gentlemen, whom she later identified before court as the first and second accused, told her that they were searching for her, alleging that she had stolen a child. In a panic and confused state, the witness says she later started screaming to the officer for help, but to her surprise, the same officer who was carrying an AK-47, according to her, was together with the alleged attackers and dragged her into a vehicle which she described as a white minibus with tinted windows and drove off with her. As she sat in the witness dock, recalling what transpired on the fateful day, Ms. Peary has told Judge Irene Mbewe that while she was in the said vehicle, the bag that she had, which contained money, was grabbed from her, and she received a few beatings from the same alleged attackers after being dumped in Romangombe in Lusaka. The state have slapped the accused with 5 counts of aggravated robbery charges involving over 1 million kwacha, allegations which they have denied before court. The accused, among them Francis Kanyondo, a police officer, Newton Hamukawa, a police officer, Derek Chansa, a driver, 62-year-old Soft Mubala, a businessman, James Mutenga, an electrician, 52-year-old Frank Mukua, a farmer, are said to have used actual violence at the time they committed the alleged offenses. According to the court's record, the accused, among other charges, are said to have stolen over 1 million kwacha cash from Jennifer Peary on the 12th of November 2021, whilst armed with an AK-47. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Well, there you have it. That's the story brought to us by Miriam Kaimba. Pertaining to that issue, Sharon, is it the case that these officers were found with a case, undergoing trial in a matter in which they have...
Indeed, Patrick. Actually, the DPP sued the Attorney General the other week, Patrick, and the story is still making rounds and resurfaced yesterday because of the president's decision, and people thought the president fired her due to that. However, Patrick, coming back to the story of the officers, I think we have a lot of officers being lawless when they're supposed to maintain law and order. I think yesterday Zipporah covered a story in Kanyama where a police officer is being accused of shooting someone.
They can't say that, someone.
You know? Imagine that. So really, we cannot have law enforcers simply because they're given a gun. You know, I get scared, you know, when I see a police officer moving around with a gun, like, Okay, are you serious?
Sometimes you see these are people.
What are the laws really?
Sometimes these are same people who kill themselves with the same guns they go with home. Sometimes they kill, for example, if they found their lover with another man, they kill their lover, they kill themselves.
They kill themselves.
Or they shoot the competitor, all those things. So I think we need to...
What are the laws really surrounding this? Because I really don't understand. Why should, anyway, in every department, every profession, there's always these people that are doing wrong things away from the code of conduct for a specific grouping. However, there's been a lot of reports of police officers doing these wrong things using the guns that they are given to use to enforce the law, to protect people, to maintain law and order, basically. That is their core mandate. Patrick, the other day we were covering a story where the Inspector General of Police, Lemi Kajoba, actually mentioned to say our role as police is to ensure that there's law and order in the country, and these other things come as secondary, but our primary core is to maintain law and order. But why feel which time maintain order? Where I feel like in your own capacity, because really it calls for individuality in terms of maintaining. Like it starts with me. Can I be orderly?
Yes.
If that is my role, can I be orderly? But if you can't have order on your own, then you surely don't deserve a gun. I'm not sure if they go through trauma or they get used to these instruments and begin to see them as toys or what. Really, I think it calls for more of a conversation on this, more of probably retraining, more of psychological conversations. I'm not sure if really what pushes them beyond their control to do those things, because they know very well how dangerous a gun is.
Yeah, they do.
They know. And for these people to actually use it to intimidate someone.
Because to go to the extent of pulling the trigger.
What is
someone thinking about?
Exactly.
And I think this case, but however, he was charged with a threatening violence. But the civic leader, to the contrary, was thought to say it should have been charged with attempted murder. But those are the issues, Sharon. But I think that incident is unfortunate because it goes to show you that even, for example, a councillor is a man of position, and if he's facing such challenges with a police officer, what do you make of an ordinary citizen who may be in confrontation with such an officer? It becomes a challenge. And how does someone then...
where do they go?
Yes.
Where do they go?
All those things, you are supposed to maintain law and order, but you become the first person to disregard the law and start intimidating people, the very people you're supposed to be protecting. Now, it raises a lot of concerns, and this unprofessionalism amongst police officers has been growing. I remember doing a story pertaining to similar issues to say, much as we have good police officers, there are also those bad elements. You can imagine the other story that we are covering from the court. Why should a police officer be involved in robbery? How should the police officers be part of a team that is robbing people? So these are concerns that we need to be addressing in terms when it comes to addressing professionalism in the police service. I remember when we were talking about when the President Hakainde appointed commissioners for the Zambia Police Service. We had, is it Namakao Kawiku, among the commissioners, who said she would want to instill discipline among police officers and ensure that they abide to the code of operations. However, we're still seeing this, so I
She's been very quiet about it.
Yes,
very quiet from the time she was appointed.
So that's also another question to say, but how are you instilling discipline? I remember talking to Clement Andeleki, the Katombora constituency member of parliament for the United Party for National Development. He was actually saying that the disciplinary measures that currently exist under the police are not adequate to bring discipline in there, so they need reforms. That's according to him, because he was saying that even the Inspector General of Police can only mete out some suspension and these other minor disciplinary action or transfer someone.
I don't know.
We need a disciplinary action.
That is the deter
people
going further. Like that guy who shot Nsama and the Joseph Kaunda, the UPND.
Yes.
Card. I don't know. It's excitement.
So you get a sense. You get excited by pulling a trigger against a person who is unarmed. What threat do they pose to you? What threat do they pose? Someone doesn't have a gun. Then you end up shooting civilians. So all those things, I think, when we are talking about professionalism, that's what we mean. So we just hope that sanity can be restored in this aspect, because we see some people who are trigger-happy officers trying to just get excited over this for nothing and intimidate people, or kill people, threaten people. All those that amount to unprofessionalism.
Indeed, Patrick, before we move away from the police, let's look at the story where the United Party for National Development Kanyama Ward 13 councillor, Leonard Jello, says he is now living in fear after escaping a bullet allegedly shot at him in his ward while he's on his way home from a government function on the 8th of September 2022, around 23 hours. In an interview, Mr. Jello alleges that he was shot at while in a named taxi online business vehicle by a policeman going by the name of Cholo Luendo, who has since been released on police bond from Kanyama Police Station, where he was reported. Manuel Zambia Police spokesperson Ray Hamonga says the named man was charged with threatening violence and not attempted murder. Let's look at the story brought to us by Zipporah Mushala.
These are youths from the United Party for National Development, UPND, who have come to offer solidarity to Kanyama Ward 13 councillor Leonard Jello, who allegedly survived a shooting while in a car on 8 September 2022. Mr. Jello has told Camnet News that he was heading home in his ward from a government function on the fateful day at around 23 hours when he nearly met his fate. He adds that he knows the alleged shooter named as Cholo Luendo, a policeman, whom he also says is his neighbor, as they live only a few houses away from each other. While the councillor says the reasons for the shooting are unknown, he suspects it is political. He explains that despite the bullet missing him, shattered glass from the bullet shooting through the windscreen entered his eyes.
We saw the owner of that BMW coming out of the car, going back his car. I told the driver of the angle, look at that man, he's pointing a gun at me. Immediately after removing or shifting the position, I heard a gunshot. It was a cross range. From there he continued firing. Then we decided to come back to the car. That's where we reported the matter at Kanyama Police Station. It's very unfortunate to hear that he's on police bond. Attempted murder is an unbearable or bondable offense. I heard that he is charged threatening violence. Where there is a shooting, it is an attempted murder.
Meanwhile, some party youths who visited the councillor have called for the alleged shooter to be rearrested, as attempted murder is a non-bondable offense.
Kuno kuwadi isendise wokalipa uyo muntu mubwezeni mu masero abwerere anti umugamwitane muntu wamene anachitirwa magrasi mu meso abwera agakambe vazoona veni ndiye paye bazaga mvuverana so ndiye vanene tupempako kuli ba polisi government la mulo tufuna isebenze monga mwamene nasebenzera ku side kulise isera mulo tikonka veni na government tufuna ba polisi kaira patwambo yopa ba polisi instead yopa abantu ba polisi bankara ndiye bamene bankara batushuta iyai polisi futi safuniga amankara na warning yo warning ako but sana warning no warning anayambira che kushuta.
Cause apa mwemere bayambira kuri leaders kupagazita geta leaders batu bamene bafuna kuleta chitukuko mu community very soon zabera kuri ise mayusi bandani babali wamene. So on that one we are very scared if the law ngatisiza konka mwamene bifunika kuchitira vintu. Uyu muntu mwamene bakambira kudara banzatu bakuti uyu muntu alichena 2 days yonkara pa nyumba. Then from there ba police bachita decide uja muntu bamuche chani bamuchose. Ni criteria branch amene basebenzesa kuti bamuchose minus the knowledge of the area councillor.
In a phone interview, Zambia police spokesperson Reha Mwanga has told Camnet News that the alleged shooter was released on police bond as the charge he was given was that of threatening violence and not attempted murder.
As regards to the press query put forward regarding the shooting that happened in Kanyama, I'd like to confirm that the person in question has been arrested for threatening violence and they are since being released on police bond. He's going to appear in court soon.
Camnet News attempted to get a comment from the accused, but were unsuccessful after being told that he was not at home at that moment. We will continue to follow the story with the Zambia police to its logical conclusion. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
There you have it. Bantu babali kwa Kanyama bayamba kuyopa wa polisi.
That accent, my friend, will land you in problems. Really, you think Chimagedo you are crazy. They'll think you are Magedo. You are the sister. You are the brother to Magedo.
What is that? Stop confusing me.
But anyway, TikTokers will obviously understand who Magedo is, and obviously yourself, Patrick, you
don't listen to such things.
But we have shown you, we have forced you into seeing who Amake Dodo is. Her makeup is top notch, Patrick. I must make mention. And
thank you for promoting
her eyebrows. No, please don't tell me.
Yes, so
that's comedy.
Yeah, so
drag queens. Drag queens.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah, so interesting story that we were talking about, Sharon. We've seen people are concerned there in Kanyama constituency that now they are living in fear, especially on the part of the member of the councillor who was saying to say, but how was the asylum released, considering that without even informing me as the victim.
The police are supposed to inform you.
But I think as the case goes, you should know that the person who has been
you reported, the person you reported, this is the status quo, this is the state we've reached.
I think so. I think you need to know, isn't it? Because you should know why the person when the person has been discharged, released on post bond, so that you know when your case is coming up for hearing, when is the case being taken to court, you should know because you have a right. You are the complainant in this case, Sharon. So, but however, the concern is that he should have been charged with attempted murder, but he has been charged with threatening violence. So that's another concern. You understand? But how he got lucky with that, that may be another story for another day. But those are things we say. But imagine, that man could have been killed with that bullet.
He could have been killed with that bullet. The excitement that these police officers have to use the toys, to use the guns as toys. Yeah. You know, they want to play. Field, so they should be shooting those dummy bodies, you know, where they learn how to shoot from. If they feel the urge to do that, they should be going there. I think we cannot be having police officers that are feared. These are supposed to be our friends.
Yes, I like the point you are saying. Feared, but that's what they want.
They
want you to fear them instead of you
being their friend.
And because of teaching them, I think, okay, well, it has been on record. I remember one of these, one of these speeches. He said to say, you have no relationship. The police has no relationship with the people in this compound because you want people to fear you. And you always, the time you are interacting with people is when you are tear gassing them.
Yes.
When you are arresting them and beating them up. So people don't see the need to inform you when there's something happening.
They would rather take the law into their own hands.
Keep quiet because to say,
even taking the law into their own hands.
Yes.
Imagine a monster you're creating. I always say, when you are not just fair and reasonable in the way you're handling issues or grievances, you're creating a monster that people will actually unleash at you or the next person in an event there's a small trigger, you know. Almost everywhere, Patrick, if you're harboring things against me, I'm creating a monster which will manifest at an unexpected time with a very small trigger. But what will offload will be like a volcano, you know.
Exactly.
So really, what they are doing is, if we report this matter, this person will be released on bond. If we report this matter, will be released on bond. Allow the matter to go to court and reach its logical conclusion. Most of the times, people may not be very happy with the outcomes of the court, but then they will accept.
Yes.
Like the guest we had yesterday, Mr. Nyirenda, said the court is usually the final interpreter of the law. So you may say this is wrong, I may say this is right, but then when we take it to the court, they will decide using being fair, just, and just being reasonable at the end of the day, and then they would decide what is wrong and what is right, or what is fair indeed. So really, if I feel the police have released this person and the matter is not going anywhere, what they are creating is me next time to act using my own thinking, my own tools, my own doing. Nanguni nkwata panga ngalainda fena ina mmoto kati uja kwa mwenza kamubeza. Nibwezamo. Or sometimes you just wait for that police officer to make a mistake. We saw the councillor was with a group of people that were supporting him, that were offering solidarity. Imagine those people. Next time this police officer is found in something.
Yes.
What are they going to do? They will just pounce on him because they think even if we report the matter, it's not going to go anywhere.
So rather deal with
we rather deal with him on our own. We are taking the law into their own hands. So can these cases be taken to court? Let them see the day of light or the light of day, as the brother would always correct me, you know. Let these things reach a logical conclusion, and then people will have peace. There's just something that the matter does when it goes to court. It just gives you that sense of peace.
You would have failed to prove your case on your own.
On your own.
But that
not police.
Not
you
that
just feel it's unfair that this matter has not gone anywhere.
Yeah, you are right there. And just also zooming at this other story, that is a Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has charged that the opposition Patriotic Front Party is misplaced to allege that he is fighting them, reacting to the ruling delivered by the Lusaka High Court yesterday, halting all by-elections, or rather, not yesterday, it was the day before yesterday, halting all by-elections in Kwacha and Kabushi constituencies. President Hichilema says the decision by the court to stay the by-elections is a normal thing that should not raise any eyebrows, as his administration has restored the rule of law. Speaking at Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe International Airport Wednesday afternoon, President Hichilema says Tuesday's ruling by the court is a clear indication that the law and order has been restored in the country, and that the opposition Patriotic Front should thank his administration rather. This is a story which Sharon and I had a conversation on yesterday, that the president was equally reacting on this interesting story, and that he says it is a manifestation of the rule of law
and the independence of the judiciary.
So we are going to zoom in that story, as well as another story that is coming from Patriotic Front. Lunte constituency member of parliament Mototwe Kwafwaya, who was called for quick appointment of the chief electoral officer and the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, to ensure smooth operations at the commission. In an interview with Camnet News, Mr. Kwafwaya notes that it is unacceptable for by-elections to be running without these two critical positions at the commission, as saying the move undermines democracy. Let's get to listen to these two stories. We'll be back on the other side.
When a citizen or citizens go to court, or the government is involved in that process, there's only one outcome. A decision will be made in favor of one of the litigants against another. That's democracy. That's what we fought for. That litigant who has won could be a citizen like you, over whatever matter. The one who has lost is another citizen, or the government, or a company. This is normal. And I'm surprised Zambians are beginning to talk a lot around this issue. This is exactly what we fought for. So the court can decide. Whether the court made the right decision is a different question. Did they make the right decision? Did they consider all the facts at play? Did they understand that this election was occasioned by the very court that nullified the seat, and the Electoral Commission declared the seat vacant, and campaigns were opened, and I'm here to campaign because I came through politics through UPND. I must campaign. How does that become a nation? It shouldn't be a nation. That's again the normal thing that we created. So I think we got used to lawlessness and disorder. When there's order like this, people get angry. I want to appeal to the UPND members. This is what you fought for. Today, a ruling will be made against you. Tomorrow, it will be made in your favor.
Zambia ECZ has come on the limelight following its refusal to accept nominations from former Kabushi Member of Parliament Bowman Lusambo and former Kwacha Member of Parliament Joseph Malanji to recontest their seats, citing Article 74, Sub-Article 2 of the Republican Constitution, that they were not eligible as they caused the by-elections. Many stakeholders received this action with mixed feelings, with others indicating that the Commission was misplaced as it was not its duty to interpret the Constitution. Further, preparations for by-elections in the two constituencies have been spearheaded by the Commission, which still has vacancies in the position of Chief Electoral Officer CEO and Chairperson, following the non-renewal of contracts of ECZ CEO Patrick Shindano, Chairman Justice Esau Chulu, and his Vice Emily Sikazwe earlier this year. Stakeholders, among them Patriotic Front Lunte Member of Parliament Mutoto Kafwaya, says allowing ECZ to continue operating without these key positions to guide its operations is undermining democracy.
I think that the ECZ must realize that it's a critical stakeholder in terms of developing our democracy. And I do think that part of the reason why they are so shambolic in the manner they are conducting themselves right now is because they don't have leadership. As you know, leadership is just about everything. They don't have the chairman, they don't have the executive director, or should I say the CEO of the institution. Now, in a situation where you have those two positions in acting capacity, then you have a problem. Because when somebody is acting, they don't fully have the mandate. They've not been oriented to have a thorough understanding of what is required for them to undertake, smooth processes.
Adding his voice on the matter in a phone interview, 2026 presidential hopeful Harry Kalaba says without these positions at the Commission, the electoral process is being weakened.
He did not find a replacement. But he was busy telling people in the Goma Belt and everywhere that we are kicking them out. You are kicking them out, but you are weakening the electoral process. Because right now, it is a huge embarrassment. I don't remember when such a thing happened on the Electoral Commission of Zambia, that it had to be stopped because the Electoral Commission of Zambia became the interpreter of the law. Those overzealous people, the legal team, at the Electoral Commission of Zambia must be careful. Even if you want to support the president, sometimes support is not even support. It is working against President Hakainde Hichilema.
By-elections in the two constituencies have been postponed until further notice, as the eligibility of the two former MPs is still being determined by the courts. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
There you have it. That's the story coming from Zipporah Mushara. They are talking about the processes pertaining to the governance of elections in the country. This is a story also that has been trending, and we see the issue of lack of the chief electoral officer at the ECZ, as well as a lack of the deputy vice the commissioner, the chairperson there. The chairperson of the commission. So with these are the people, key positions that the ECZ actually needs to operate efficiently, and the president is yet to make replacements, and we are still waiting on that. You too, our dear viewers, can give us your perspective on what you think should be done, especially pertaining to this issue. We also have the issue that we're discussing about the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, Lilian Siyuni, who has been suspended by President Hakainde Hichilema while acting upon the recommendations of the Judicial Complaints Commission. Just your perspective and your thoughts on that. We'll be getting them right now. The phone lines are open in case you want to join the conversation. We can have a discussion in that score. Looking at these stories that we are hearing, we are playing on Zooming the Headlines. There have been quite a number of stories that have been actually raising concerns. We also did a story pertaining to the issue of security in Kanyama, where they are expressing concern on that aspect of where a councillor was shot by a police officer there. And for him, he feels more action should have been done. But to the contrary, the opposite has been done, where the man has been charged with threatening violence as opposed to attempted murder, as the victim wished. So just now we're going to take a very short break. We'll be back on the other side to engage with yourselves, our dear viewers.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Thank you for staying with us. You are still watching the Camnet Breakfast Show, Thursday edition, governance and politics, as well as policy. And just now we also look at another story that is also in the main news, talking about the energy expert Dr. Johnston Chikwanda was cautioned consumers to prepare for the anticipated hike in the fuel prices in the coming months. In an interview with Camnet News, Dr. Chikwanda explains that this is because the government will reinstate the taxes that were suspended to stabilize the price of the commodity, such as the excise duty and value-added tax, which will result in about a 40% increase in the price of fuel. Dr. Chikwanda notes that while the oil marketing companies have been given a waiver, the government has been losing revenue. The energy expert has also observed that stability in fuel is dependent on the continued improved performance of the kwacha. Let's listen to that story.
It's about the taxes being reintegrated back. They have been there now, this is almost 2 years, and the money, of course, is needed. My appeal, though, has been that because they are quite a lot, they are 41% plus, they could be staggered in their reintegration in the pricing system, especially for VAT. It can commence in January 2023, which is a new financial year. The outlook is that the prices are definitely going to go up. There is a very significant possibility that we are headed for a price increase, because if they are integrated at the same time, that's about 45%. I am not sure that the kwacha would have performed to a certain extent, and also the prices of crude on the international market going down to the point where the whole 45% can be absorbed in order to allow for a no change price. That scenario is quite remote. Yes, the kwacha has been very resilient, but I just don't see it performing to the extent that when you integrate the whole 45% taxes back, you are not going to have any price upward. So there is a possibility that the prices are going to go up.
Thank you. for staying with us. And that was Dr. Johnston Chikwanda explaining to us on the consequences of the fuel rise. As you already aware, our dear viewers, that the government is implementing the International Monetary Fund bailout package, and this means that a number of interventions would have to take center stage. These include some of the subsidies which have to be suspended by the Zambian government to ensure that it works on economic stability. But however, also that comes with at a cost in that it affects the consumers. Let's talk on the aspect of fuel. On the aspect of fuel, we understand that we have had the issue of taxes that were suspended by the Opposition Patriotic Front while it was in government. These taxes include duty as well as value-added tax. They were suspended to ensure that oil marketing companies do not pay, so that this can be passed on to the consumers, and it was done to just make sure that the price of fuel stabilizes, and that was in the build-up to the August of 2021 general election. This was quite a huge debate and widely speculated by others to say it was a political gimmick to make fuel prices stable for a while waiting for the elections to pass, so that they can effect changes and the price of fuel start increasing once again. We saw the UPND government take over office. However, they also managed to maintain the same taxes to ensure that they stabilize the price of fuel. They have been removing fuel subsidies, in that they have been operating with a system where prices of fuel increase as the kwacha increases. If the kwacha performs better, then the prices of fuel will equally reduce. But if the kwacha depreciates, rather, that's when we have been seeing that the prices of fuel have been increasing, and that has been affecting a lot of sectors. Let's say the transport sector. At a point when we see fuel prices increasing, we have seen that bus fares have also increased, and we understand that most Zambians commute using the public transport. Hence, they have been affected and they have been raising concern. But in the last 2-3 months, the kwacha has been performing better in the range of 15, and we have seen that there has been a reduction in bus fares. And at the moment, we are seeing a little bit of stability in the prices of bus fares. And however, the concern has been that that has not also reflected on the aspect of other commodities, and that's a discussion which people are having, where prices of commodities haven't reduced as expected, while when the kwacha depreciates, prices escalate at a faster rate, and people are unable to manage. So those are concerns that have been raised by Zambians, and looking at this issue pertaining to tax, it's quite a very delicate situation that as a country we need to really look at as we work on these taxes pertaining to fuel. And next month, the government is likely to suspend this policy of waiving taxes on importation of fuel. So we are likely to see a cost-reflective fuel price, but that cost-effective price comes at a cost to consumers, and we will see at what range we'll be paying for services as well as goods as government removes all the taxes. So this will be another thing that Zambians have to base themselves for. But the government has also assured that they will put in place measures to ensure that they take care of the interest of consumers. But how are they going to do that? That's another thing that we also have to wait upon as a country, to see what measures is the Ministry of Finance implementing to ensure that it cushions the people. The Ministry of Labor, what are they putting up to ensure that people's earnings tally to the cost of living? Various ministries, what are they doing to ensure that people are not severely affected? We understand that the government, in order to safeguard the people, it is equally implementing interventions such as the social cash transfer. But however, to what extent, how many are the beneficiaries? Just about a percentage of this population, about 1 million or so on the social cash transfer programs. But how are others who are not on the social cash transfer program affected. Those are discussions that we need to venture into as a citizen. So on that aspect of fuel, in the month of September, by the month end, the government is likely to suspend those taxes. So we see October, November, the prices of fuel may become crazy again, and we just hope that it does not affect us as anticipated, but we just hope to also find measures of coping and adapting. So that's on the aspect of the energy sector. Then on the zooming the headlines this morning, before we wrap it up, we are looking at another story that is of interest, that is pertaining to land governance, done by Tito Kalama of Camnet TV, and this is where a civic leader of Lusaka province in Kafiwe district in Shantumbu area of Chieftainess in Komesha Mukamambo II chiefdom has expressed concern over the rampant illegal allocation of land in Chisankane Ward. Chisankane Ward Councillor KB Sikangila has challenged the local authority to take action against the named businessman who had allocated himself over 40 hectares of land, state land, which he is subdividing and selling to unsuspecting members of the public, purporting that it is state land. However, this is the land that was belonging to the traditional leadership. So let's get to listen to this story. We'll be back on the other side.
The scramble for land across the country has continued unabated despite the change in political leadership. Shintumbu area, located approximately 25 kilometers from the central business district of Lusaka, has seen a rapid construction of residential houses and business buildings dwarfing its once upon a time village setup. A named individual is alleged to have taken over this huge expanse of land, which is said to be over 40 hectares, and already selling it to individuals that can afford. A check revealed that would-be house owners had already started building, as evidenced by pilot blocks on different sites and construction workers in the process of building. One of the residents, who has grown up in the area, has said one individual has taken up one huge chunk of land, claiming that it's traditional land when in fact not.
But wakamba kuti vanapasiwa mwangena vantu vosiyana nanga ife tizachita benefit part yakuti timangeko romapotri timapangeko tumakrabu kuti naife kapena nukawalala uchepere because vana vankhala chabe.
Another resident who chose to remain anonymous has said a road separates state land from the one belonging to the traditional leadership.
The state land and the headmen have no part ku line yaku left kwao ni uku ku right kwamene kuyenda kundiye kwamene bali na control uko. It is the government which controls this land.
Meanwhile, Chisankane Ward Development Committee has said the land in question has been legalized by the local authority and that it should be utilized for developmental purposes.
This place to develop it into various projects for youths, for women, and for the rest of community, needs. So, in this area, I have checked thoroughly well. I have seen the councillor has not sold any place at all.
And the area councillor has vowed that it will not rest until the land in question is used for its intended purpose.
People, they have encroached, they are building in state land. And when I went there, just tried to see what they are doing there, I find that people they have encroached, they are men. But what I did is to go to the Surveyor General to find out who is the owner of that land there, where I find that the land, belongs to the state, that is the state land. And to my surprise, there are a lot of people who are selling the state land. And some they are claiming, like Ozias Kaundula is claiming that he was given a state land, a vast land there, almost 40 hectares, which was given longly because that is a state land.
Shantumbu has only got one school and has only seen a mushrooming of mostly shops from the time real estate business boomed in Lusaka City. Tito Kalama, Camnet News.
Thank you very much. That was Tito Kalama with that report pertaining to land governance in Shantumbu area of Kafiwe district. And we just have come to the end of this episode of the Camnet Breakfast, Governance and Policy and Politics. This has been Patrick Soko. Until next week when we come back on Wednesday, keep it on Camnet TV. Remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel.